Welcome to Real Chat with Kat, the podcast that's all about real conversations for real transformation. I'm your host, Kat Polsinelli, professional speaker, MC, and best-selling international author. Here, we tackle the tough stuff, the mud that we all have found ourselves in. We talk about the pivots, the challenges, and the victories that shape our lives and our businesses. From overcoming trauma and finding your voice to navigating life's unexpected twists, we get raw, honest, and open. You'll hear from inspiring guests who share their stories of resilience, healing, and growth. Whether it's breaking through emotional abuse, embracing self-worth, or thriving in entrepreneurship, you'll find connection, empowerment, and the tools to keep you moving forward. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and get ready for stories that hit home and conversations that make a difference. Let's get real together. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Real Chat with Kat. We are back with another solo episode, and to everyone out there that celebrates any form of a holiday, I know that this is getting released right after, so happy holidays, whether it's a Hanukkah that you celebrate or Christmas or whatever that may be. And if you don't, I hope you had a fantastic December. I'm super excited to chat with you guys today. I think that this conversation has been weighing on me for a little while, and I feel like it really goes along with the theme of some things that we have been talking about as we are moving into 2026. So I wanted to take a personal bout and start this conversation about healing, but not healing behind the shadows, right? Like healing in a way that works best for us. And so I wanted to bring this conversation to you today as we again are looking forward into 2026. By the time this episode comes out, we are literally days away. And I know that everybody is looking at, what they're going to do differently next year and resolutions and so on and so forth. And I'd like to challenge you just a little bit on maybe shifting the way that you think about a resolution. I know that a lot of us are like, this is when I'm going to start it. It's going to be January 1st. I'm going to change all these things. And then we end up tumbling back down into old patterns, which actually psychologically is very natural, especially when you try to uproot a lot of the things that you've done and go full force, and then you wonder why it didn't work. And it's not because you're broken and things don't work, but there are all these other factors that we're not aware of. And one of those can be how we are choosing to heal. So I would love for you to look at 2026 as, where do I want to start shifting the way that I do things? What one thing do I want to pick out? Where do I want to start small? And then how can I stack on top of that habit once it becomes reality and it becomes a new thing? And then how can I start having things on top of it? You actually hear this if you ever read the book Atomic Habits, and he talks about habit stacking and how it's a lot easier for us to kind of transition and be able to be aware of adding something new because of something that we're already doing. So let's before I go down a rabbit hole of everything else, healing. Let's take a moment. I want you to think with me for just a second. Has there ever been a moment where you felt like you were done with something, you had healed from it, you thought that you were done, you were through that stage, and then for whatever reason, it comes back up and it's like it hits you like a freight train, right? Like you walked into a stop sign, you're like, whoa, wait a minute, hold on, time out, right? A time where, maybe it was just a small inclination that you were like, oh my gosh, I thought that I had worked through all of that. Maybe it's a breakdown, right? Maybe it's a complete moment in time where you have to completely pause and kind of like re-see what is going on so that you can decide the direction that you want to go. Okay, we've got our moment, right? I know everybody has been here. And I actually wanted to share one of my very recent moments on thinking that, I'm good with this. I've worked on all these things. I don't have to worry about this. I bring this up because it really is interesting how deeply seated some of our truths, our beliefs, our survival mechanisms, how deep they go, and we don't even realize it. So let me share a story. Several weeks ago was my birthday. Thank you, thank you. Uh, and I've been working with this company recently online doing some things, and I received a gift. And basically, it was an email that I got that said, "Hey, choose your gift, and we'll send it over to you." And I thought, how cool is that? And so I go to this website and I'm going through all these items that they've got, and there's some really cool stuff, right? Like a USB microphone that's like more travel ready versus mine, which is like on a big long stem. Um, and like a computer backpack and earbuds and anyway, all these items, right? Tons of things to choose from. And I was like, oh, this is so exciting. How cool is this? So I start going through and looking at all these things, and I come across this blender. It's a smoothie maker. Okay. And I'm like, ooh, actually, I have a smoothie blender, but it's like super old. And so this might be really cool. Oh, and it comes with it comes a microwave. It comes with a toaster. And I was like, oh, my oldest one's 21 and he's really looking at what he's going to be doing moving into 2026. And so he's been, I want to get my own place and things like that. So we've already been collecting things and just figuring out what we're going to put in storage for him and things that he's going to be able to have. And so I immediately was like, oh my gosh, he could have that microwave. Right? And so I don't think another moment about it. I press the order, get it taken care of. I'm all excited to go back to work and I finish out my day. And as I finish out my day, I get an email notification that it's been taken care of, right? That it'll be shipping soon. And I'm like, how cool is that? And then it hits me. I immediately pause and I remember thinking to myself, oh no, I've done it again. I have this deeply seated belief that I take care of everyone first, right? Especially as a mom, everyone comes before me. And that is something that I have really worked on over the last few years is knowing that it's okay to put myself first, that that is not selfish, that is self-care. And if you can't self-care, you're not going to be able to care for everyone else, right? And I'm sure that you have heard the term, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so I've really been working on on that. Um, and this is what I mean by how deeply seated some of our beliefs are. Those ones that are way back in the subconscious that we don't even realize are still there because we feel like, right, logically in the front of our brain, I've worked on that, we're good, I'm moving forward, I'm so proud of myself. And then something like this comes up. Now, I do understand that I used to be in a situation where if anyone gave me things, offered gift cards or anything like that, it immediately went back into my family. Due to my financial standpoint, being in an abusive relationship, we didn't have a lot of things. And so I always made sure that the family had first out of survival and also out of this belief that it was selfish if I did it just for me. Now, this was also a belief that was ingrained in me by my ex. It was also something that I was kind of raised with is that we put others first. And not that that's a bad thing, but again, self-care is also extremely important and it's not selfish. And we have to remember that we are the most important thing. And in order for us to give to others, we have to take care of us. And so I found this kind of funny and I shared it with my husband and I said, I didn't think twice about it. I thought of something that was practical. I thought of something that could help my oldest son and then I just went with it. Where instead I could have gotten the headphones, or I could have gotten the microphone. And it's not that it's a bad thing. Let me really, really preface with that. This is not a bad thing. This is not a you effed up moment. It's a moment of acknowledgement. And that's what I want to share with you today. Because so many times we hide our truth, we hide the pieces that we're healing because we don't want to be seen in that light. Or we want people to think that we're completely over everything and we are perfectly moving forward. I am so guilty of this. I did this for such a long time because I thought that people would see me in a different light if they didn't think that I had things together. What I've come to realize over the last several years is more than not, nobody has their shit together. Just going to put that out there. We are all living in a world barely making it by, and some of us are thriving, and yet we still are dealing with things behind closed doors. That is what we call life. And the more that I started leaning into that and kind of shifted away from this perfectionism, this I have to feel a certain way, I have to do things a certain way, I have to make sure that things are hard, and I have to make sure that I talk about that progress and not show the process behind it, the harder it was for me to really heal things. And now that doesn't mean that you have to heal publicly, right? It doesn't mean that the world needs to know what's going on. But what it does mean is that we need to stop pretending that we are completely fine. Oh, I'm totally fine. I'm great. I'm wonderful. And hiding the breaking down inside. I've actually made it a point to pause before I answer the question of, oh, how are you doing? Because it's so easy for us to very quickly be like, oh, I'm good. It's such a reaction. And so a lot of times I'll sit with it and I'll say, you know what? I'm having a moment. Or I have had better days, but the day is getting better. I have really worked on being honest when it comes to how I am feeling because what you're teaching yourself is what really matters to you. And if somebody asks you if you're fine, you're like, oh, I'm totally good. You're lying to the part of you that is like, no, we're not. No, we're not. Please, somebody see us. It's so important to make sure that we aren't hiding our healing. Now, I also understand that there are certain circumstances, there are certain situations, there are certain individuals that we feel like we cannot be honest with. Maybe there is some narcissism in there. Maybe there is some guilt tripping that's in there. And so maybe you tell them that everything's good because you just don't want to hear what they have to say. And I completely understand that. And I I actually stand behind understanding that situation. What I don't want you to do is mix those two, where maybe you have a friend that cares and maybe they're going through some things and you are too, but you choose to say that you're totally fine because you don't want to rain down on what they're going through. Those are the times that we need to be honest. Because when you're silent in those moments, you're creating this space of shame or you're creating this space of isolation. You're teaching yourself not to be honest or be open with anyone. And then it makes it a lot easier for you to choose to not really deal with what you're dealing with anyway. Because even behind closed doors, you may end up choosing, oh, well, I'll be fine. I'm just going to go take a nap and I'll get over it. These are the moments when we are craving compassion, connection, support. And I believe that it really is important to make sure that we aren't always quietly healing, that we are open to speaking to people on a real level. Because believe it or not, more people are craving realness. They're craving honesty. They're so tired of hiding behind the mask, but maybe they don't know if you're hiding behind a mask, so they choose to hide behind theirs. But if you come out openly, now they've taken their mask off as well. If you think of any of my guests that have been on here, from my recent guest, Troy, who's openly speaked about his trauma and jail time and how that transformed his life, to Lee Wang, who climbed Mount Everest and the tallest peaks across 7 continents. And she openly discusses all of the fear and the self-doubt that she went through. And what I have found across all of the people that I have interviewed is all of them stopped hiding the truth. They stopped hiding what was hurting them and they started being more aware of it and they started addressing it. And the more that they did that, the more that they were like, I'm ready to do this. I'm ready to step forward. Taking that next scary step is a little bit less scary. And that's what I want you to understand. You're always going to have moments where things are going to scare you. Always. It doesn't matter where you are at in your life, how much work you have done. You will always have things that you haven't done or put you in a situation that you are not familiar with that the brain is going to go, this scares the hell out of us. That's normal. What's not normal is this belief that, I don't know, is ingrained in us that society has put out this belief that, as you grow in a straight line and you go up. Absolutely not. Growth and healing are not linear. And I am saying this from personal experience. Every time that I felt like I had grown through something, that I had learned about myself, and I was like, yeah, we're making progress, something would happen. Something from my past would come up and I'd have to deal with it. And I would feel like I get knocked 10 blocks backwards. And that's what I've learned is healing and growth are not linear. They are in loops, they are in spirals, they are up, they are down, they come with surprises. It's all a part of this process of becoming more and more you. And what happens within that, as you adjust to it, is you will also notice that you will outgrow people. You will outgrow certain patterns that you used to do. You'll outgrow certain parts of yourself. The same people that I used to hang out with and the jokes that they used to make now are not funny. That's why I don't hang out with those people. Parts of me before that enjoyed a little bit of drama doesn't enjoy that. I don't even watch TV that involves that. So, things like Real Housewives and all that crazy drama crap, I can't watch it because I've realized that I've let go that part of me. And it actually gives me anxiety to watch things like that on TV. Crazy, crazy. So when we decide to step into a space of healing, which is going to require growth, there are some requirements that you need to be aware of. Just things that will happen that you're going to want to prepare yourself for. Honesty, cold-blooded honesty with yourself about how you feel, about how you react, about how you think about things. That is like the biggest requirement. You're going to have to get honest with yourself. Be on the lookout for identity shifts. Like I said, there may be parts of you that you did like that now you're like, I'm okay with not. And you're going to notice that. And you're not going to be the same person you were before, but that's the coolest thing ever, is that we get to continue to evolve. We get to continue to do new things and challenging things and different things, which continue to shift your identity, but also up level it. I have learned so much about myself before. And what's really funny is there's a lot of these identity shifts that I can actually associate with when I was more of a kid, when I had less worries, when I had less things on my plate, when I had less survival skills that had to take over. It's so much more free. I know that sounds crazy. The other requirement is going to be boundaries. You're going to want to put some up, and that means you're going to outgrow people, you're going to outgrow situations. Just remember that those boundaries are for you. That's what you are willing to put up with and not put up with. Now, if somebody chooses to go past that, that's when you have to make the call of they have gone past this boundary and I'm not comfortable with that, so I choose to XYZ. That's very different than you cannot do this to me because I will. It's a, if you choose to speak to me like that, I'm going to choose to leave. That is my boundary, is I don't allow people to speak to me like that, talk about me like that, speak about others like that. That is a boundary. A boundary is for you. And that's also going to require a lot of letting go. A lot. Boy, I feel like I let go of so many things, and then sometimes they come back, and then sometimes I have to let go again. Again, not linear. But this is going to allow you to choose yourself. And that's probably one of the biggest requirements. And one of the cool things that happens when you choose to go through this is you choose yourself. You begin to own your story. You begin to be okay with what it is that you went through because you realize that you did the best that you possibly could at that point in time with the knowledge that you had. Then, not now. I guarantee you, you know things now that you wish you would have known back then, but you judge yourself by the things that you know now, thinking that the old you knew that, but you didn't. So why judge yourself for something that you didn't know? Now, this is where a little bit of grace fits into the mix. All right, so as you are working on yourself, as you choose to do this healing, deep breath, you're going to have to give yourself some grace. Now, not only are you going to have to give yourself some grace, you are also going to want to give grace to others. Let me explain. Okay. Grace for yourself means being okay with mistakes, knowing that if you screwed something up, that's part of the learning process, just like absolutely anything you have ever done in your life. When you learned to ride a bike, did you fall? Yeah. Did you not do the pedals right and that screwed something up? Yeah. When you got your first job, did you make a mistake by not knowing how to work the register, not knowing what to tell somebody? Yeah. That's the learning process. That's part of it. All right, number two, allow for slow progress. Oh, I know that that one's a hard one. We live in a world where we literally have everything at our fingertips. We want everything instantaneously. We want a coffee, we can order it from Starbucks and it's there in 5 minutes when I'm ready to go. That is not how healing works. This is a process and it will take some time. So learn to give yourself a little bit of grace for that progress. Now, another one, allow for days where making it by is the win. That sounds crazy, doesn't it? We do not always have perfectly fantastic days, right? So there are some days where just surviving my day was a win. That's okay. That's part of it. Not every single day is going to go smooth just because you're healing. You're still going to have things that irritate you, that frustrate you, that piss you off, that upset you. That's called normal human emotions. I know. That was a hard one for me to learn too. And then also understanding that healing is going to take time And it's also going to take repetition. Okay. This is not a, we've done it once, we're good to go. I'm over it. Move on to the next one. We are habitual beings. Okay. So we are going to have to do these things on repeat. Let me give you an example. I used to have some hella road rage. Hella road rage. And I remember as I was going through this, I was like, okay, I want to give people more grace. And so one of the things that I would do is if somebody drove by me and their car was like kind of smashed, maybe their door was kind of in, they were missing a bumper. The first thought I used to have, I'm gonna be completely honest, was, good Lord, take care of your stuff. Or, well, that's why you drive like that, because your car's a piece of crap. Very judgy. Think what you want. I know that there are you listening that have done the same. So what I chose to do was bless them or say something grateful to myself, such as, oh, I hate that for them. I really hope they get their car fixed. I hope something good happens to them. I am so blessed to have the vehicle that I have. I am so blessed that I don't have to go out and pay for that to be fixed. I really hope that they get something cheaper or somebody offers them a good deal or they're able to upgrade their car. I know that sounds really weird. Believe me, it was really weird to me too in the beginning. But I genuinely did want to feel that for them. And I also learned to be very appreciative and grateful for everything that I had as well. And to this day, I still do that. Now, there's some people that still piss me off when they cut me off. Absolutely. I am human. But I don't let that destroy my entire day. I don't then take that out on my kids or my spouse or my dog or anybody that does something afterward. I have an ability to be able to cool back down very rapidly. And that is like one of the most amazing things to me, especially when I think of how much of a hothead I used to be, just being honest. All right, now, remember I said two forms of grace. So we have grace for yourself. Now we also need to make sure we have grace for others. Because number one, not everyone that's around you is going to understand your growth. They're not going to understand what you're going through. They're not going to understand why you're not over it. That is not your problem. And the way that you heal yourself and do your thing, that's not their problem. There will be people that will resist the changes that you are making. The people that you've been around for a really long time, and this can include family, they see you in one specific light. That's how they see you. And when you start to shift that, that may also make them uncomfortable, especially if they are not in a space of healing and growing themselves. If they're in a place of stagnation, your growth is really going to hit them and it's going to make them really uncomfortable. That is not your problem. You cannot make people be okay with you changing. And so that means sometimes the grace for them is distance, not visiting as much, not talking about what you're going through or what you're healing from as much, not being around that crowd, not going and doing certain things, because it starts to separate you from that old identity so that you can start to create that new. And then sometimes grace is going to look like simply letting them have their own story without letting it control yours. Because their story is theirs and your story is yours. They don't crisscross. You don't owe people an explanation, and you don't have to do things the way that they do just because they don't agree. You know, it's so funny. I saw a gentleman recently on Instagram, and he said, honey, if you're ever sitting down at a restaurant with someone and you both order steak, and let's say that they order their steak very different than how you order yours. He said, you don't have to say anything because you don't have to eat that. They do. It's the same thing with your story. The same thing with your story. They do not live your story. They do not understand your story. They can continue to eat their own story and leave yours alone, but you have to be okay with doing that for you as well. Okay. Let's start with a starter kit of how to start healing outside of the shadows. Okay, you ready? You should be taking notes. Let's make sure we write this down. One, we want to tell the truth to ourselves first. Radical honesty. We got to be very honest with ourselves. Two, choose someone that you can safely share this with. That might be a friend, that might be a family member, that might be a therapist, that might be a coach, whatever that looks like for you. Choose that one safe person that you can be very honest with. It it is a world of difference when not only are you completely honest with yourself, but when you are actually completely honest with another human being. Number three, let's get my things in order. Name what hurts. If you have something that pisses you off, name why you think that that pissed you off because it made you feel this way. And then what could you potentially do to change that? Number four, allow yourself to be seen, even if it's just a little, right? If you become a little bit louder, if you become a little bit more funnier, if you become a little bit more outgoing, show it because those people that are attracted to that are then going to find you. Number five, take small action toward that healing. So many times we focus on where is the mountain that I can climb right now. That is not how it works because the mountain didn't just show up one day, right? It was created because of all the pebbles, all the dirt, all the sand, all the small things that got pushed together that then created that big thing. So start small, which ends us with celebrating those tiny wins. And I mean like big, big energy, right? Not like, oh, that was kind of cool. Yay me, right? But I mean like, hell yeah, that was awesome. Oh, that's that's great. I'm gonna go have a piece of cake. I'm gonna take myself out to dinner. Celebrate it as if it is a big win. Because when you learn to celebrate yourself for everything, including the small things, you build up your own confidence. You build up your courage. You build up this new you. Remember that this is not going to look perfect. That's the whole point. It's going to look real and it's going to force you to choose to be honest. When we think about healing in real life, healing in the day to day, remember that it is going to be things like, yeah, I'm having a hard day. Yeah, it's been a long time. Being able to set that boundary and not feeling like you have to apologize because you chose not to deal with someone's shit, right? I'm sorry. You're not going to speak to me that way. And walk off. You don't owe them an apology. You don't owe them an explanation. You're doing this for you. And that's you learning to leave a situation that is hurting you, that is hurting your spirit, which is also going to hurt your ability to heal. So make sure that you choose therapy, choose a coach, choose a friend, journal, meditate, find things that you can take that will help bring you back down to a neutral space. Because that's what we have to learn to do. We're always so hyped up. We're always so ready for everything. We're in survival mode or we're in gotta do it now. There's a space of neutrality that you can be in, and it is the most peaceful thing I promise that you will ever experience. And then this is going to allow you to rewrite or revision your identity. I say revision because, I always have people say, you get to write a new chapter. And I remember when I got out of my abusive relationship, I was like, oh, hell no. I am not writing a chapter in that same book. We are closing that book and I'm writing a brand new book. There are books that have multiple books in the series, right? So why do we need to write a chapter in the same book? No, ma'am. I choose different. That book is closed. I'm writing a brand new one. So you get to revise your identity. And that is fun. Just know that you don't have to heal alone, and you are not the only one trying to heal alone. Most people out here are in some journey of their own healing. They're in some form of moving forward, moving sideways, spiraling backwards. Yet we only want to show society the perfect pieces. And then we wonder why, when we scroll through social media and we see people that look like they have it so much better than us, we get so much harder on ourselves. Because that's not reality. That is a percentage of their reality, but that's not the reality. It's no one's reality. So just remember that. Remember that you want to learn to incorporate this beautiful spiraling up and down, but still moving forward at the same time, healing journey. The beautiful thing about personal growth, personal development, healing through who we were to who we want to be is your story is ever changing. And the best thing is, it's totally allowed to. You are allowed to evolve as much as you want, as many times as you want. I know that there is this societal timeline that says you should be here by this age and here by this age and here by this age. Absolute BS. Out of the 200 people plus that I have interviewed, those that I have talked to, those that I have spoke to, none of them are on the same timeline that we somehow have created for ourselves or that society created for us. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's not real. But you have to choose if you want to shift that belief. I can't shift that for you. What I can tell you is, why not give it a try? Worst case scenario, you don't like it, it doesn't work for you, and you prefer to be the way that you are. Okay, but at least you made that decision, not someone else, not because of the beliefs that you were raised with, not because of the beliefs that were put on you because you were in a situation. You chose to be where you are. And that to me is beautiful. So I challenge you today, and as we move into 2026, to allow your story to change, to just allow the possibility of you to evolve. And maybe that leads to you allowing yourself to heal outside of the shadows and heal proudly. Just remember, slow progress, tiny steps, nonlinear. What is one truth that you are deciding to believe in today? And what is one truth that you are deciding to let go of? Think on those. As we come to a close, thank you so much for joining me today on this episode. You can find us at Kat Polsinelli or at The Lotus Effect on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook. You can also find this and all of the other episodes with all of my other guests on YouTube. Please choose differently in 2026. Start small. Be okay with being imperfect because that's how everything truly is. And know that you are absolutely loved. If you don't see it by anyone, I love you. And I'm proud of you for even listening to this episode, for taking the notes, for even thinking about the possibility of doing something different. That, my friend, is the first step to your journey. Until next time, do one thing positive for someone each and every day and see the difference that it makes in your life. I will catch you in 2026. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to Real Chat with Kat today, where real stories meet real solutions. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review on Apple, and share this with someone who may also need to hear this as well. Let's also keep the conversation going. Follow me on socials at The Lotus Effect, connect with our incredible guests, and remember, you are never alone. Your story matters, and you have the ability and the power to rewrite it. You always have a choice. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep showing up as the incredible, unstoppable